Analysis of the film I Am Legend, 2007. Plot summary. In a post-apocalyptic New York City, virologist Robert Neville is the last known human survivor after a genetically engineered virus, originally designed to cure cancer, wipes out most of humanity and turns the rest into nocturnal, aggressive creatures known as Darkseekers. Neville spends his days searching for a cure while battling isolation, trauma, and the weight of being humanity's final hope. He follows a strict routine for survival, gathering supplies, conducting experiments on infected subjects, and maintaining a fragile connection to his past through old movies and recordings. But everything changes when the Darkseekers begin to show signs of intelligence and coordination. As Neville confronts the truth about the infected and the consequences of his own scientific work, he must decide what sacrifice is necessary to preserve what's left of human life. Strengths: a powerful one-man performance. Will Smith carries almost the entire film alone, delivering a deeply emotional and grounded performance. His portrayal of loneliness, guilt, and slow psychological deterioration is one of the movie's strongest points. Excellent world building. The abandoned New York City is hauntingly realistic. Empty streets, overgrown vegetation, and decaying landmarks create a striking atmosphere that enhances the film's sense of desolation. Emotional resonance. The relationship between Neville and his dog, Sam, provides the emotional core of the film and is often remembered as one of the most heartbreaking elements. Strong pacing and tension. The film smoothly alternates between calm, introspective moments and bursts of intense action, keeping the audience engaged throughout. Thought-provoking themes. The story raises compelling questions about science, responsibility, sacrifice, and what it means to stay human when everything else is gone. Weaknesses. CGI inconsistencies. The Darkseeker CGI has not aged well. Their rubbery digital appearance undermines much of the horror. Deviations from the original novel. Fans of Richard Matheson's classic story often criticize the film for discarding the novel's twist and deeper philosophical message. Alternate ending is superior. Many viewers feel the theatrical ending is less meaningful and betrays the more complex moral ideas hinted at earlier in the film. Some emotional beats feel rushed. Certain reveals and character moments could have used more time to fully land. Fun facts about I Am Legend 2007. The film had over 50 script drafts. Because the studio struggled for years to adapt Matheson's novel, countless rewrites were produced before filming began. Several famous actors were considered for the lead role. Tom Cruise and Michael Douglas were attached to earlier versions before the role went to Will Smith. Filming in New York was extremely expensive. Shutting down parts of Manhattan cost millions and required enormous coordination, especially for scenes at Times Square and the Brooklyn Bridge. Sam, the dog, became iconic. The dog who played Sam, named Abby, became beloved by fans, and Will Smith tried to adopt her after filming, but the trainer refused because Abby was still working. The alternate ending changes everything. In the alternate cut, Neville realizes the Darkseekers aren't monsters. They're intelligent beings who see him as the real threat. This ending aligns more closely with the book's message. Hidden details everywhere. Butterflies appear repeatedly as visual symbolism tied to hope, memory, and destiny, especially during pivotal emotional scenes. Lessons from I Am Legend 2007. Isolation can break even the strongest person. Neville's mental struggle is as dangerous as the infected themselves. Science has consequences. Even well-intentioned innovations can lead to disaster when rushed or misused. Humanity depends on connection. Neville's bond with Sam keeps him grounded, showing how essential companionship is for survival. Hope is a powerful motivator. Neville continues searching for a cure even after years of failure, driven by belief rather than certainty. Sacrifice defines heroism. Neville's willingness to put others before himself speaks to the film's core theme. Survival is not just physical, it's moral. Monsters are not always what they seem. Especially in the alternate ending, the infected emerge as being as capable of love, grief, and loyalty, challenging Neville's worldview. Box office and ratings. I Am Legend had a budget of $150 million and grossed approximately $579 million worldwide. This made it one of the highest-grossing post-apocalyptic films ever released. The film received 68% approval from critics and 69% from audiences on Rotten Tomatoes. While not universally praised, it earned strong recognition for Will Smith's performance, its emotional weight, and its dystopian atmosphere. Now, here's our opinion.
Today, I'm proud to talk about the film I Am Legend, released in 2007. In my view, it was a movie that had everything going for it. At the time, Will Smith was extremely famous and in high demand in Hollywood, and pretty much every movie he starred in was a guaranteed success, and this one was no different. On top of that, the film takes place in a post-apocalyptic world with zombie-like creatures, a theme I absolutely love. I'm crazy about survival stories, devastated worlds, and people trying to stay alive while facing dangerous creatures. I think I like this genre so much because I relate to it. Every day I'm trying to survive, trying to earn my daily bread. Life is a constant battle. It's not easy, and we have to be grateful for every day we're still alive. When I went to watch the film, I had high expectations, and I really liked what I saw. Right from the beginning, we followed the protagonist, Dr. Robert Neville, played by Will Smith, struggling to survive day after day in a post-apocalyptic world. His routine is wandering around the city looking for food and supplies alongside his dog, Sam, who is his only companion. At night, he conducts experiments trying to find a cure for the virus that destroyed humanity. That's his life, just him and Sam, living with the hope of bringing the world back to what it once was. As the story progresses, the film reveals deeper emotional layers, especially when Neville loses Sam, who ends up dying after being infected. Sam represented a deep emotional bond, one of the main motivations that kept Neville fighting. When he loses her, he also loses a significant part of his emotional support. There's even a scene where he recklessly confronts the creatures without caring about his own life, showing how devastated he was and how much Sam meant to him. This struck me because it shows that being alive is not just about surviving. Being alive also means forming emotional connections, even if it's with another creature like Sam. That connection gives you energy, purpose, and strength to keep going. But after losing her so tragically, Neville finds a new purpose when he meets other survivors. Before meeting them, he carried an enormous burden, the belief that he had to save the world alone. That changes completely once he realizes he's no longer alone. From that moment, we get another important lesson: sacrifice. In the official ending, the one considered canon, Neville sacrifices himself. That ending shows empathy, humanity, and his desire to keep humanity alive. It's a touching and meaningful conclusion. But the film also has an alternate ending, which I only discovered recently while preparing my video. I watched the alternate ending and I'll be honest, I liked it a lot. But it does have one issue. It presents the creatures in a completely different context. In the official ending, the creatures are violent, instinctive, almost bestial, driven only by their most basic impulses. But in the alternate ending, they show emotions, organization, and even human-like traits. They still behave primitively, but they have another emotional and social layer. This changes our entire perspective of them. Even though I enjoyed this different approach, it also bothered me because it shifts the tone of the movie and the direction of any possible sequel. If a sequel follows the official ending, we'll have a world where survivors must face purely aggressive creatures that can't be reasoned with. But if the sequel follows the alternate ending, where Neville survives, the story could take a deeper and more emotional direction, exploring the possibility of coexistence between humans and creatures. Either way, I agree with most people. The alternate ending, the non-official one, is better than the official ending. However, I personally really like the idea of the creatures being completely aggressive, impossible to communicate with, existing only to kill. I genuinely enjoy that kind of threat. So to preserve that image, I prefer the official ending. The downside, of course, is that Neville dies, which complicates the idea of continuing the story with Will Smith. But even that's not necessarily a bad thing. A sequel could follow new characters in a new storyline. In the end, the film has two possible paths, if a sequel ever happens. Oh, and before I forget, there's something interesting about the creatures. Some people complained that the creatures were created with CGI and that the CGI might have aged poorly. I completely disagree. I think the CGI still looks fairly good. Some film critics argued that the creatures could have been portrayed by real actors wearing makeup since they're bald. That sounds simple, but there's a huge problem with that logic. The movement of the creatures is not human at all. They run extremely fast, jump high, and move in highly aggressive, unnatural ways that no human body could physically replicate. If they had used actors in makeup, the creatures would not have looked nearly as threatening. That's exactly why CGI was necessary, to allow movements that are impossible for real people. I was honestly shocked that critics didn't notice this because it's so obvious when you watch the movie. Another interesting fact I discovered is that many people actually called the studio asking if Sam, the dog, was okay. Of course, anyone who watched the film knows that Will Smith wasn't choking a real dog. It was a CGI creature. It would be absurd to harm an animal just to film that scene when modern CGI exists. But I thought the concern people showed was beautiful. It gave me hope in humanity, and I truly hope we continue caring for animals that way. And finally, I can say that I really enjoyed the movie. I loved Will Smith's performance. There's also a Brazilian actress in the film, Alice Braga, and as a fellow Brazilian, it makes me proud to see someone from my country in a big Hollywood production. I also liked her performance, even though her role is relatively small. In the end, I Am Legend is a very entertaining, emotional, and memorable film. That's all for now. Session closed. If all goes well, see you in the next video. Until then.